to the Bare Marriage Podcast. I'm Sheila Ray Gregoire from BareMarriage.com, where we like to talk about healthy, evidence-based biblical advice for your sex life and your marriage. And I am joined today by my daughter, Rebecca Lindenbach.
Hello, hello.
We are going to talk about euphemisms.
Yes.
And this is going to be a fun one.
This is.
This is one that we figured out on a walk that we were on the other night. And
This is the one that sounded really great as a concept on a walk. And the more that I'm thinking about the things I'm going to say in front of my mother on the internet, it's getting less and less great. So here's the concept.
Okay.
Concept is, a couple weeks back now, at the point this comes out, you posted a series of images to Substack and social media where there was this quote about how women following their husband's imperfect leadership can show them the love of Christ.
Gives us a taste of the leadership to come where we're with Jesus, our bridegroom.
But like, the question is, and then they put it on this picture of this like happy, loving family.
In a field.
But what does imperfect leadership mean?
Yes.
Right? It doesn't mean laughing in a field.
No. And so I took the same quote and I put it on a series of pictures, including, one where a man is angrily yelling, one where a man is sitting on the couch while his wife is vacuuming while holding a baby, one where a man has messed up the finances, one where a man has a clenched up fist. Yeah, like we're actual imperfect leadership. Kind of ideas, like what options of what the imperfect leadership could have been. When you put that quote over top of those images, suddenly it seems very, very different. So we thought, yes. So we thought, what about with sex? What if we just translated a lot of euphemisms that are in these books by using the actual terms of what's being asked or what's being talked about? Because when you do that, it's like, wow, that's icky. But we get away with it because they aren't upfront about what they're saying.
Yes.
And when you get upfront and you realize what they're saying, it's like, no, that's not okay. So yeah, we have 4 different examples or 4 different categories of euphemisms we want to talk about today.
Sure.
Okay, so the first one, and some of them we've talked about before, but it's always fun to have it all in one place. Okay, first one is euphemisms that are truly creepy.
Oh yeah, these are good ones.
These are truly, truly creepy. And of course, the person who does these the best by far, I think, is
Mr. Happy himself,
Kevin Leman. Kevin Leman in sheet music. And true story, when we were doing our research for the Great Sex Rescue, we actually conducted focus groups on these euphemisms because we wanted to know, was it just us? Like when we read this and we were like, wow, that's a take. Like, are we the only ones reacting that way? So we read several things from Kevin Leman to focus groups and they all said...
To be incredibly clear.
Yes.
I read things because my mother cannot keep a straight face in a focus group to save her life.
No,
so
she actually kicked me out of a focus group.
I did. I kicked her out because you can't be like seeing what people's reactions are and you're out there going like, oh, this is the worst. Like you have to have stone cold face.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yes. Okay. So one of them is that Kevin Leman likes to call his penis Mr. Happy.
Which I'm like, why do we know this?
Yes, I should not know what Kevin Leman calls his penis. This is not something that I ever gave consent to knowing. But we all know that Mr. Leman calls his penis Mr. Happy because he then says Mr. Happy likes to be kissed. Yes. And this is an example of...
What's the full quote? It's like, Mr. Happy likes to be kissed. Nothing.
Oh, gosh. Okay. So here's the whole bit in context, okay? For those women who want to serve up a special treat for their husbands, let's talk about making Mr. Happy smile. And then here's the heading. Making Mr. Happy really happy. Mr. Happy likes to be kissed. Nothing puts a smile on his face like a loving wife's oral caresses. Yeah.
And it's like, I think he's trying to be cute. We've talked about this before. I'm just like, it's the focus group was, is it a puppet show? That was someone was like, it sounds like a weird
pornographic puppet show.
It's like Mr. Happy likes to be kissed. Nothing puts a smile on his face more than his wife's oral caresses. And I'm just like, this is not the way we talk about oral sex. And here's the funny thing. It's less creepy if you just use the language.
Yeah. Like if you just simply say, hey, lots of men really enjoy oral sex.
Even dudes like a blowjob. Like
even that isn't as creepy. You know?
It's like I feel so much less like you're going to be put on a list for it. Like it's just this is so unnecessary, but a lot of it is because we were so unable to talk about sex for so long, right? And so it's like we have to use this euphemistic language in order to get past that discomfort versus just kind of honestly shocking people through the discomfort and being like, when here's the thing. When we do events, you and I, and we're places they don't typically talk about sex.
Yes.
A couple of times Mom has been like, we're just going to set the ground floor here. You're going to hear the words orgasm, clitoral stimulation, ejaculation, erection, all those things. So here we are, orgasm. Let's go. And then we go in. And that actually works.
Yes.
It really does. And we gave this example in She Deserves Better, too, about talking about euphemistic languages, about like women's private parts.
Because he also talks about, he calls women's clitoris her tender little friend.
Which I'm like.
And talks about how fingers can dance on the tender little friend or whatever. And it's just like, here's a test of whether it's creepy or not. Imagine you're in a doctor's office and your feet are in the stirrups and your OB-GYN comes in and says, so how is your tender little friend?
Yes. It's like, ew.
Are you creeped out? And it's like, yes, you are. Because as soon as you talk about it in euphemistic language, you add a level of like shame and yeah, where there, and also almost a level of intimacy between us and the author that you shouldn't have, or us and the obstetrician, right? Like what you need is for it to be clinical, because the author is supposed to be explaining something to you clinically.
And here's the difference too. Like, we're not saying you only can, like, no one is dictating how you talk in your marriage and in your sex life.
No.
God forbid you tell me. Please don't. Like, just do whatever you want. But there is this level where I think Christian authors need to understand the difference between things being creepy and not. And you can do this test because there's lots of things that are unprofessional but not creepy to say. Like, so, okay, if you're a dude and you're going in to see someone about your penis, right? Like, the doctor should be using words like penis, right? Because that's the word. Yeah. If he used the word dick, it would be unprofessional but not creepy. And if he used your magic pleasure wand, it would be you should leave. Like, if he's like, oh man, yeah, how's your dick feeling? Like, you'd be like, oh, that's a little unprofessional for a doctor.
Yes.
He was like, okay, how's Mr. Pleasure Wand? Like, I don't know, like, there's a difference here, guys. And I'm like, can we please stop using creepy euphemisms? It is okay to use crass language when you're talking about things like that. I would prefer that. Can we please just not use happy little friend?
And I think a lot of this, especially when it's a man saying it about a woman, is there's this assumption that has been in the church, well, actually in society for decades or for centuries, that, you know, men know about sex and women don't. And so women need to be taught.
Yes.
Because women don't naturally know these things, whereas men naturally know all these things. And so he is going to bestow his knowledge on these poor women who know nothing. And it's simply not true.
But the number of men.
But when Kevin Leman does this, he is reinforcing that idea that he knows stuff that women are just too embarrassed to talk about. And when you're trying to dispel shame, and he actually says that in the book, is that women feel way too much shame about sex. The way to dispel it is by being open. It's not by using euphemisms, because euphemisms add shame. It's like saying we're not supposed to talk about this the way it really is.
And I think that it's interesting. Again, like, we're all so comfortable using the word penis. Like, most people are totally comfortable with the word penis. Most people are not comfortable with the word vulva. Now, to be fair, it's got I was gonna say it's got I don't know if Connor's gonna keep this in, but I was gonna say it has horrible mouthfeel as a word, but that doesn't seem, but it does, like vulva, like going, it doesn't flow as well as penis, but I think that we need to have like an ability to have a better word too. There's been discussions about this in multiple areas where like we need a better word for like the female genitalia. Yes. Because no one wants to say labia or vulva. It doesn't feel, it's just that seems very clinical. Yeah.
Okay, people. Every so often, a book comes along that I just know will heal you guys and will connect a bunch of dots for you. And I've got one to tell you about today. And thank you to Zondervan for sponsoring this podcast. Dorothy Greco's For the Love of Women launches next Tuesday, October 28th. She is looking at misogyny, which is a word that we sometimes recoil from because it sounds so woke. But misogyny is about how the systems that run our society are basically made to serve men and hold women back. They stop women from flourishing, and they drive a wedge between men and women, so men don't flourish either. And I loved this book. I devoured it in one day. It does such a great job of encapsulating all the different areas of our society where women are really affected and hurt. You know, we can think that men and women are equal now and there's nothing else to fight, but Dorothy shows how in medicine, in media, in government, in the church, in business, and especially with sex, our society bakes male entitlement into the cake and makes the male experience the standard. So if people have ever challenged you saying, stop complaining, men and women are equal now, please read this book. It explains so much and it points us to where work still needs to be done. So pick up For the Love of Women today.
I know, is it in the Nordic regions that, or like Norway, Sweden, they started, or somewhere around there, it's like the snippa or something because it's like the shape of a boat.
Oh, it's like, okay. If you are in Norway or Sweden, tell us.
Fact check me.
Yes, in the comments. I would love to know that.
But I think, but there's part of this reason where like we have all of these euphemistic words for men, balls, dick,
yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff, that are not based in degradation. Whereas for women, what do you have? You have a pussy. You have like all these things where it's from a different perspective. It's from a perspective of subjugation of women, and it's something where it comes from a different perspective. And I think that's where a lot of this euphemistic stuff comes from, because they're trying to not sound overly clinical, but there's not actually a lot of words in our language that are not either clinical or tied to seeing women as pornographic items to be used. And we need something in between. So what I want you bare marriage folks to do is comment what you think a vulva should be called. We'll do a poll and we'll decide it once and for all.
But you know, my plea to especially male authors and pastors and therapists, etc., is just use the real words.
Yes.
Like just use the real words. It's way less creepy. Yes. It's empowering. It treats women, especially with respect. Like just use the real words. Okay, let's do the next category of euphemisms. So these are the ones that obscure what is being asked to do. So kind of like that image thing that we were talking about, you know, his imperfect leadership, and then they show this beautifully happy couple.
That could be a tampon commercial.
Right. It's like, it's so weird. So
woman in white running through a field.
So the phrases that are often used, especially towards women, that really obscure what's going on or what is being asked. And the typical one is like, give him a gift.
A gift.
We hear this all the time. Just give him a gift. You know, if you're not able to have intercourse, then just give him a gift.
A gift. A gift.
And let me read you an example. This one doesn't actually say the words gift, but it's right up there.
Yeah.
Okay. This one is also by Kevin Leman. Same book, sheet music. We are going to get to other people in a minute. There are times, for whatever reason, that a wife may choose to make use of what younger men affectionately refer to as hand jobs. A woman with heavy periods that last 6 or 7 days, or who has just gotten through a pregnancy, or perhaps is simply not feeling her best, may genuinely feel that sex is more than she can handle. But with a minimum of effort, she can help her husband, who feels like he's about ready to climb the walls because it's been so long.
The gift. No, but okay. There are so many
things.
We're not. I am fighting because we could do a podcast on just this, and we have before. And so I am not going to say all the easy low hanging fruit here. We're going to say, okay, what are they talking about for her experience and for his?
Okay,
so the words they use for hers are if she has a period that lasts 6 to 7 days.
She has a heavy period. Now, most women, when they are having heavy periods that last 6 or 7 days, what is happening in her body? Okay, so she's bleeding profusely, right? She likely is having cramps. This is a woman who might be having endometriosis.
PCOS.
Yeah. Something. People who bleed heavily for long times are not comfortable. Okay? They are not comfortable. And by the way, if you are having heavy periods that last 6 or 7 days, that could be in the realm of normal. Okay, it could be, but it may not be.
Yeah.
This is a good idea to go see an OBGYN and just get a workup done. All right? But like, this is not someone who is comfortable. This certainly is likely not someone who feels sexual. Some women do feel really sexual during their periods for sure, but it's less likely to be women who are bleeding heavily.
Well, and also, here's the thing. We're using words like it's a heavy period of 6 to 7 days. And so that's hard for her. But it's a minimum of effort.
Yes.
That's the euphemism. Also, obviously, she's also postpartum in one of them, which...
Yes, she's just had a baby. We don't know how long ago she had a baby. It says, she has just gotten through a pregnancy. Just gotten through a pregnancy. She has just pushed a 9-pound, 3-ounce baby.
She pushed a watermelon out of a lemon.
Her body has been torn in half. She has stitches. She is still leaking bodily fluids profusely out of multiple places. Okay, so she's wearing a pad that is not a normal pad.
Yes,
it is like huge. Okay, she's passing blood clots the size of tennis balls in some cases.
Or
her milk has come in and she's leaking through. She's got face cloths in her bra. Okay.
Yeah. Or if she's past that, she just went through that and now finally has a chance to rest.
Yeah, she hasn't slept in months, okay? Yeah. Because she wasn't sleeping through the night before the baby was born either, because she had to go to the bathroom constantly. Her baby is waking her up every 3 to 4 hours. She's exhausted. Mm-hmm. But this is just a minimum of effort.
Yes, and this is the problem, is they're using euphemistic language. So they're not saying women who are in pain, suffering, or freshly postpartum should just ignore how their bodies feel and rub one out.
Yeah.
But that's what they're saying, though. And see how that sounds offensive.
Yeah.
Not because of the words rub one out. So if I said, I don't know, go have fun, go rub one out if you want, like with your husband or whatever, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Some people say that's only masturbation. I can assure you, having heard many teenagers say things, that it is apparently not only used for masturbation anymore. Mm-hmm. But this is the thing. It's like it's not that the word is offensive. It's that when we use the words that actually mean what we're talking about in that context, it
makes it clear what they're saying.
It makes it clear what they're saying, and it's an offensive thing. Like say like, well, it doesn't matter if you're bleeding and you're in pain. Take a couple Advil and give him a hand job.
Yeah.
That is an offensive thing to say.
It is.
And like a husband who would say that to his wife is a bad husband.
Yes.
Like flat out. Mm-hmm. And also, I do want to say, because we talked about this with the Gary Thomas photos thing a while ago. And if you haven't listened to that podcast, it's a great one. It talks about why the way we talk about sexting needs to be done carefully. Is you have to ask who is the person they're talking to in this. And this is important. And it's not directly related to euphemisms, but I always like to say it. People say, well, lots of women like to, fool around when they're on their period, even if they can't really like do anything because they're bleeding too much or they don't find it comfortable. Lots of women find it because they get really horny on their period. And like, okay, those women don't need to be convinced.
Yeah.
Who needs this advice? Who needs to be convinced? This is not him saying, you may have heard that the only forms of sex that are allowed are intercourse, but you should know that actually it's perfectly fine for Christians to explore each other's bodies in all sorts of different ways. You can do oral sex, you can do manual stimulation, and if you're someone who, when you're on your period, you get really sexually aroused and you want to do things, but you don't feel comfortable having intercourse, I mean, experiment, have fun.
Yeah, that's not a totally different thing. Do you see how that's a totally different thing?
Yeah.
That is completely different than saying to women, hey, when you're uncomfortable and bleeding heavily, you should be giving him a hand job.
Yeah. Take an Advil.
And here's the last thing he says. Yeah. Or simply not feeling her best.
Yeah.
What does that encompass?
Anything.
Having a migraine? Yeah. Feeling nauseous in your first trimester?
Yeah.
So when you are not feeling well, you should give him a hand job? Really? Is that what we're saying? So when you've got a headache or you're nauseous, you should give him a hand job?
Like, it's just ridiculous.
Wow. Okay. But you see how if he had written that,
it would have been caught by a lot more people. Caught.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. If you have the flu, well, it's not that hard. It's a minimum effort. Imagine it actually said this. Okay, see, I have a cold. Don't be a wimp. It's not that hard to give him a hand job.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, that would never have been written. But that is what this says.
Yes.
Let's be very clear. The modicum of effort is don't be a wimp. Don't be lame. Don't be. It's downplaying what she has to do.
Yep. And so whose needs are being prioritized here? So he's ready to climb the walls because it's been so long. She is bleeding heavily, is sick, is not feeling well, is not recovering, is exhausted. And yet who is the one who's supposed to put in effort?
Not to mention he's climbing the walls for a woman whose period lasts 6 to 7 days. It's like, dude, just don't have sex for a week. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. She doesn't get to have sex for a week either. Yeah. Yeah. When she's bleeding heavily. Like,
one of you has the worst end of this.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, but when we word it like that, people don't realize. So here's another example. This one's from Every Man's Battle. Similar situation. Okay. When men aren't getting regular sexual release, their eyes are more difficult to control. Help him out in this battle. Give him release.
Yeah.
How would you phrase that as to what he's actually saying?
It's like, I mean, if you don't, like, how crass am I allowed to go? Because, like, here's the thing, friends. Because here's the thing. I believe that the way that Steve Arterburn and Fred Stoker talk about sex is in pornographic terms.
Yeah.
And so I do believe that the accurate way to describe what he's saying is in very crass terms. Like, I believe that the way to describe what he is saying here is, if you don't let him jizz in you, he's going to jizz to someone else.
Yeah.
Like, that is the way to describe it.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like he's going to look somewhere else if you don't let him, like, that's the way to.
Yeah, because they only see sex as the husband's ejaculation.
That's exactly it. It's not sex. I don't want to say it's intercourse. I don't want to say it's even intercourse because it's not. It's like she doesn't matter. It's just him jacking off inside of her.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
It's him using her as a masturbatory aid.
Yeah. Because he can't get what he really wants. Yeah. Because that's what they always imply in Every Man's Battle. And by the way, it's not true. Men don't really want the other hot women that they see. Like, that's not what they want. They want, like, well, that's not true. Healthy men don't want just to get with the hottest girl that they can possibly bag. That's not what they want. They want a meaningful, loving relationship with their wife. That's what they want. That's why they married you. Right? And so you don't have to believe this crap, but that is what this says. This says you are the consolation methadone that soothes him from what he really wants, which is other women.
And they actually use the word methadone too. They actually use that in Every Man's Battle. Yeah. So what they're saying is, look, when men don't ejaculate often enough, they are going to lust and want to masturbate after other women. Yeah. And so, ladies, you need to make sure that you are letting him use your body, or you are giving him a hand job or a blow job so that he doesn't go and lust after other women. And that's what they're saying. But if he had written it like that,
I actually think that would have still gotten published, and I don't think anyone knows.
Probably.
That's why I think it needs to be crass language with these people.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that
with them in particular. With them in particular. Yeah. Probably not really for Kevin Leman.
No, I think Kevin Leman's readers would have caught it. I don't think that Every Man's Battle's readers would have caught it, because they do pretty much say that.
Yeah.
They do pretty much say that.
Yeah. But that's why when pastors and authors talking about, you can give him a sexual gift, or you can give him a sexual favor. We say that a lot too, right? Sexual favors. When you can't have intercourse, you can give him a sexual favor. Look at the context of where they are giving that advice. Because if the context is when she can't have intercourse because she's uncomfortable, and then she's supposed to give him a sexual favor, like, manual stimulation, oral sex, whatever. If they were to just say that outright, it would be obvious that the husband's being really selfish.
Yeah.
But because they don't say it outright, because they use words like sexual favor and give him a gift, then it sounds like this is just a normal marital interaction where you just get to be a little bit more giving. It's like, is it giving when you're telling her you don't matter sexually at all?
Yes.
Your body is just to be used for him, to regulate him.
And again, we gave the example of how you can give people permission to do whatever they want in a way that isn't shaming or coercing people into it.
Okay. You want one from Shanti?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So this one is for women only. Okay. She says, remember, if you do respond physically, but you do it just to meet his needs without getting engaged, you're not actually meeting his needs. In fact, you might as well send him out to clip the hedges. So enjoy God's ultimate gift and make the most of it. She talks a lot like this, and we're going to come to another one later that she does.
It's such word salad.
But like,
it's so hard to follow. There's no specific verbiage that tells you what she's trying to say.
Yeah.
Is meeting his needs, responding physically, is that about like going, like, is that about having sex? Is it about being enthusiastic during sex? Is it, what does this mean?
Yeah. I don't even know. Is it about, like, to me, if you do respond physically, but it's like, is she talking about getting aroused? Because that's what I would think.
Is she talking about like having an orgasm but not putting on a show for him?
Like, I honestly don't know. This could mean so many different things. It could mean like if you respond physically. So if you do have sex with him, it could mean if you do have an orgasm, but you're just doing it to meet his needs without getting engaged.
Is
so
it
you're
about
just
giving
lying
him
there?
a hand job? If it's about giving him a hand job, it's just like, well, I'll meet your needs. I'll respond physically. I'll give you a hand job. That's fine. But like, it's going to be like I'm doing a chore. Then she's like, well, you might as well be clipping the hedges. Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, what does this mean? Use words. I am begging you to use words that have meanings that are meant to communicate.
Yeah.
It's like there are actually ways that you could have written this so that we knew what you were talking about.
Yeah.
But because of this could be from something as banal as like, I don't know, meeting his needs physically in terms of like, it could just be about meeting his non-sexual affection needs.
Yeah. It's just so crazy. I think the thing that bothers me too about this is like the advice that's given. So if you can't actually get into it, like then you're not actually meeting his needs, right?
Yeah. So
instead, you are supposed to enjoy God's intimate gift and make the most of it. But she never tells you how to. Well, she never tells you like it's okay to tell him if you're not enjoying it. Instead, she says like you have to reassure him all the time that you really want him and he's doing a good job. Like she never says how to deal with the fact that you're not enjoying sex.
Like to me, what this says is if you're doing this just to meet his needs and you don't enjoy it, that's not good enough for him. So put on a good enough act that he can't tell the difference.
Yeah.
Like that's what this says to me.
Well, I mean, she is telling you to enjoy it.
No, but she's not, because she's threatening you that you're not meeting his needs.
Right.
Not that you should be enjoying it. She's giving you a threat. So she's doing the frenemy thing.
Yeah.
Where it's like, she's like, oh, nice skirt. When it's like, no one likes the skirt, right? Yeah. Like she's being a mean girl here. This is how mean girls talk, which is like, oh my gosh, no, you would never want to do that because it's fun anyway, right?
Yeah.
Like you're with the program, right? Yeah. Like this is how mean girls speak. Yeah. Do I think it was intentional from her? No. I think that it's the culture she's raised in. It's the water that she drinks and breathes, swims in, whatever. Like, but I think that is what's happening here. There is a threat here that you just responding physically, just your like. I don't know if this is her orgasm or like her giving him a gift or if it's anything like that, but I don't know what exactly it is, but whatever it is, she's not enough. She has to put on a show.
Yeah.
Because if he thinks that she's not super into it.
Well, I guess what bothers me is you can't command someone to enjoy it.
No.
Like if they're not enjoying it, there's a reason. And she never deals with that reason. She just commands you to enjoy it.
And that's why I don't think she actually wants him to enjoy it. She wants him to put on a show so that he can't tell.
Yeah. Which is crazy. Okay. The king, however, we have not done the king of euphemisms yet.
The king of euphemisms.
The absolute king of euphemisms is Josh Butler.
Oh, yeah.
When I asked
our supreme ruler of euphemisms.
When I asked on our Patreon group, what are euphemisms that I can use for this podcast? I think it was Ilva who said, don't forget Josh Butler. It's like, oh my gosh, I almost did. We've done a whole podcast about him.
Yeah, I've successfully blocked that chapter from my mind.
So for those who don't remember, Josh Butler was a pastor who wrote a book called Beautiful Union. I think it was 2 years ago now. And it was put out by like the Gospel Coalition was heavily involved in marketing it. And they published the first chapter online and it was so awful. There was such a huge uproar about it.
Conservatives, progressives,
everybody hated
everyone
it
came together
to hate
to be mad at him calling the Holy Spirit semen by accident.
Well, we don't even know, but here I am going to read you this one part. Okay.
Awesome.
That just shows how euphemisms mean we don't know what he's talking about or what he's asking us to do. All right. Christ penetrates his church with the generative seed of his word and the life-giving presence of his spirit, which I gotta do this again. Okay. Christ penetrates the church. Christ penetrates.
Christ penetrates is a hard one to get through.
Christ penetrates his church with the generative seed of his word and the life-giving presence of his spirit, which takes root within her and grows to bring new life into the world. Inversely, back in the wedding suite, the bride embraces her most intimate guest on the threshold of her dwelling place and welcomes him into the sanctuary of her very self. She gladly receives the warmth of his presence and accepts the sacrificial offering he bestows upon the altar within her most holy place.
Oh, there's so many levels. There's so many levels.
And we have dealt with this before. I will put a link to the podcast where we talked about Josh Butler. Okay.
But first of all, his warm presence. What is that?
I know.
Is that the semen? Is that his penis inside of her? Is it him hugging her? What is it?
I think it's his penis. No, it might be the semen.
I think it's semen. I think there's so much semen. It's gotta be the semen. Like the number of semen. Okay, let's do a semen count here. Okay, Christ penetrates the church with regenerative.
The seed. We've got the seed of his word.
Semen count 1.
Yeah, life-giving presence. I think that could be it too.
Semen at 2. I think that's semen 2.
Which takes root within her and grows to bring new life into the world. Yeah.
Although, was that technically, if you were to dissect the sentence, would that refer back to the life-giving?
I don't know.
Okay, so we're 2.5.
Okay. The bride embraces her most intimate guest. See, I think that's penis.
I think penis is the most. I think that's
on the threshold of her dwelling place. We don't know what dwelling place is. Is it
might be her vulva?
Her vulva.
Maybe it's her vagina.
Maybe I don't know.
It could be her cervix.
And welcomes him into the sanctuary of her very self. I think that's the vagina. Okay. She gladly receives the warmth of his presence. That's gotta be semen. Because she's already got the penis.
She's already got the penis.
And accepts the sacrificial offering. That's semen. That's semen.
We're at 4.5 semen.
He bestows upon the altar. Is that her cervix?
I think so.
Or her uterus?
Yeah.
No, within her most holy place. That's gotta be the uterus. That's gotta
be the cervix uterus.
I don't know. But you see how this makes no sense. Like, if you were to actually say what he's talking about, it would just be very different. And
I am not translating the Christ one because there's no way for me to say anything that does not sound just, I have too much respect.
But what people really, okay, so let's get away from all of the semen and all of the weird things, okay? What really stood out in this is that is the phrase, the sacrificial offering he bestows. So that somehow him ejaculating is a sacrificial offering.
Yes.
And a lot of people had a lot of problems with that. That was one of the big things I wrote about.
It's comedy gold, too.
It is.
It's like, in what universe is a man coming a sacrifice? It's like, you're welcome. I don't know. Like, I did this for you. Okay. Like,
I would like to read from Laura Robinson, who 2 years ago, Laura is great. I don't know if Laura's moved to Threads. I miss Laura. I used to be on Twitter with Laura all the time. Laura is great. She has an amazing Substack. But she wrote this on Twitter, and I published it on my blog a couple years ago. But she said this about that passage, okay? The third image is honestly sort of shocking in how grotesque it is. Josh says that men display generosity during sex. They do this by generously giving their penis and their semen to women, which you may notice is a wild way of saying they have an orgasm. Josh is working very hard to describe doing something extremely fun as though it is done for the sake of and on behalf of someone else. But it's about as coherent as Josh telling us that when his wife cooks him a delicious meal, he eats it, and this is generosity. No, it's not. Josh isn't giving anything. He's receiving pleasure and enjoyment, but twisting around the words to make it sound generous. It's not generous. It's sort of the opposite. Like how patriarchal pastors say men and women are equal, but they mean the opposite of equal. So the majority of what Josh has written here is just dumb and doesn't mean anything. The rest of it is twisty and manipulative. Men don't want to have orgasms they want to give away semen.
Men don't want to have orgasms, they want to give away semen is such a baller of a line.
Yes.
But it's true though, because like when you look at what he's describing, like what he could have just said, and this is the closest that I will get to giving him a lot of benefit of the doubt. Okay. He could have just said that, like, you know, as in the miracle and the mystery of reproduction, like there is this transformation and this growth that happens in us in secret, right? Like now with medical marvels we can see it, but for centuries, like there is this mysticism of the magic of growing a baby, and Christ and the Spirit, like they cause that growth to happen within us. Could have said that. I don't think that's necessary in any context to use semen as an allegory for Christ. I don't think it's very necessary, I would argue, because of that. And conversely, like, our role is to, nope, there's no way, I'm trying to give benefit of the doubt. Really what he's saying is we need to allow for, like, it's just, all it is like, just get ejaculated in.
Yeah.
And it's just, that's all he's saying, but he used so many words and we still don't know what part of the body he's trying to refer to.
Yeah.
Like,
so I have another one that touches on this as well. Okay. So we've talked about euphemisms that are creepy, euphemisms that obscure what is actually being asked to do. So in that case, he was like, the generous offering it was really obscuring what's actually going on. And then there's euphemisms where we don't even know what's going on.
Yes.
And a lot of that other passage would also fit.
Qualify.
But here's another one by Josh that says this. Okay. At a deeper level, generosity is giving not just your resources, but your very self. And what deeper form of self-giving is there than sexual union, where the husband pours out his very presence not only upon, but within his wife? And I would just like to say, the upon thing is doing a lot of work there.
It really is. What are we pouring upon our wife, Josh?
Yeah, like I am very nervous.
It's like, are we talking about like because I think that once again, what has happened here is he has a theoretical concept that he's trying to put in poetic terms, but he has forgotten the 12-year-old boy test.
Yes,
which is what this says is. I am. It can be cut out if it's too much. What he's saying is you can ejaculate on her and in her.
Yeah.
Like, and it's like, that's not as poetic.
No, and I think a lot of women would have issue with a lot of like.
Well, it's just why? Like, like my question is, who thought, you know what we need more of in our allegories of the Holy Spirit? Semen. That's what we need more of. We need more semen. Where's all the ejaculate? Like, where is it? Why aren't we having this in our theology books? Because, and if they were using the words semen, this book would not have been written.
Yes. And people would have caught it faster. Like, because what is being said, like his very presence, not only upon, but within his wife. Like, what is that? And this is where like it is so important to actually say what you mean.
Let's reread it with the actual words of what's being said here.
Okay.
At a deeper level, generosity is giving not just your resources, but your very self. And what deeper form of self-giving is there than sex, where the husband ejaculates not only on his wife, but in his wife? It's like, what?
How is that self-giving?
How is that self-giving? Like,
how is that?
You know what, honey? This one's for you. It's not going to only be on you tonight. It's also going to be in you. Like, this is bizarre, friends. Because that's what he says. He's saying not only upon, but within. It's like, yeah, I know that normally it's just on your stomach. But like this is ridiculous. And if this had been written if this had actually been written out, of course they would have caught it. These people are not dumb. They just got swept away in in their poeticism and in their desire to make something sound profound. And that's all it is. And that's why it's just important for us to put it through the 12-year-old boy test and to put it through the real words test.
Yep, exactly. Okay, I have another one. That isn't as, this is Shanti Felden in a similar place to the book. Okay. So her big point in this chapter is that men don't just want sex. They want to feel desired. They want sex where you are engaged in it. Okay. That's her bigger point, that men aren't actually only after ejaculation. They're after connection during sex. Okay. Okay, so I'm just going to read part of what it says. But once you realize that your man is actually saying, this is essential to my feeling of being loved and desired by you, and is critical to counteract my stress, my fears, and my loneliness, well, that suddenly puts it in a different category. So how might you respond? First, know that you're responding to a tender heart hiding behind all that testosterone. If at all possible, respond to his advances with your full emotional involvement, knowing that you're touching his heart. But if responding physically seems out of the question, let your words be heart words, reassuring, affirming, adoring. Do everything in your power, using words and actions your husband understands, to keep those pangs of personal rejection from striking the man you love. Leave him in no doubt that you love to love him.
Yes.
Now, this is where I have a real problem because I don't know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
In a similar way to before. What does she mean by respond physically? Because it sounds to me like she's saying,
well, I read that as if you, like, it's important that you put your all in it and you're super into it. And if you can't orgasm, you'd better still, like, tell him he's doing a good job.
That's what I thought. That's what I think, too.
I think that's the easiest reading of that.
Yeah. And so we made a big critique of her book saying she is saying that when you're in the middle of sex, if you aren't physically responding during sex, so you're not getting aroused, that your words should still be reassuring, affirming, adoring, as opposed to saying a little to the left. Like, as opposed to saying, hey, this is what I need to feel good. Yeah. You're supposed to be constantly reassuring him that he's a good lover. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a valid reading of this passage, because throughout this chapter, she never once talks about how you're supposed to speak up and tell him, like, you know, and direct him. It's all about how you need to respond to him and make him feel like you love him and need him and desire him and enjoy it. Right. But I've had people say, well, I think what she's actually saying is if you can't say yes to sex.
But there's nothing in there that implies which one it is.
Yeah, like, and when you read this, I think that's also a valid reading. I don't know which one is correct. Mm-hmm. I don't know what she means, but that's part of the problem.
Exactly.
It's like, I don't know what she is saying. I don't know if she is saying, if you can't say yes to sex tonight, you know, reassure him that you still want him and figure out why you can't say yes and, you know, let's solve this. Or if she's saying, if you're having sex and you're just not into it and you realize you're not going to reach orgasm tonight, you can still make him feel like you enjoy it and you reassure him. I don't know which it is.
No, and she could have said, and because what does respond physically mean? That's a euphemism for something.
But I don't know what it's for.
We don't know what it's for. No, we don't.
Like the way that because we talk about responding physically quite a bit. Well, I mean,
in context, we usually say arousal.
Yeah, but to me that means arousal. Mm-hmm. Like, to me, your body, because we say your body physically responds. I say that a lot. Your body physically responds.
Yes.
And so I'm thinking that means arousal.
Yeah, and I think that physically, also, like, why on earth would you need a euphemism for saying not now, not tonight, honey?
Yeah, why can't you just
need
say,
a euphemism.
Why can't you just say, if, you know, if you don't think that, or if you're not willing to have sex tonight, or if you realize,
not in the mood.
If you're not in the mood.
Just say not in the mood. Not in the mood is also a euphemism, but it actually is clear what you're talking about. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Like, even just use not in the mood.
Yeah. Like, but she doesn't, and so because of all these euphemisms, you're not actually sure what she's saying. Like, I have no idea what she's saying there.
I still think that it's mostly about, my question though is, I just don't know if it matters to these authors.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter whatever it is, no matter what the end result has to be, that he gets he's told he's great. Yeah. Right? But yeah, no, it was bizarre. But it's like, it just use words that communicate the message that you're trying to communicate.
Yeah. And I just find in sex people don't. And so it's not actually clear. And so how are you supposed to take that? Okay. So that's 3. Mm-hmm. That's 3 categories of euphemisms.
Yes.
All right. So creepy. Don't know what's being asked. Mm-hmm. Don't know what's being said. Mm-hmm. And now we come to the 4th one, which is actually the most disturbing. Yeah. Which is euphemisms that hide sexual assault.
Yes.
And we have a whole bunch of these from Every Man's Battle.
Yes.
So one thing to know about Every Man's Battle is that nowhere in their books do they actually talk about sexual assault victims. Like, they don't call anyone a victim.
No.
Like, it's the victim of lust is always the man's own purity. Mm-hmm. It isn't a woman that is hurt. And so I want to give a couple of examples of that. Okay. So this one is from Every Young Man's Battle. So this is actually from his book to teenage boys. Mm-hmm. And this is another reason why you should never, ever, ever let your Christian school, because it's often Christian schools, read this with your sons. Mm-hmm. Okay. We have a one sheet on the problem with Every Young Man's Battle. We actually have a one sheet on for women only as well. So I'll put the link to those in the podcast notes. But very, very bad one. And we did a podcast in Every Young Man's Battle. But let me read you this snippet. So a teenage girl is saying, guys, you need to let them know that you care more about their heart than the way they dress. Cassie simply stated, please be a leader. Yet too often the only leadership that we take, meaning guys, is to charge across her sexual boundaries. Girls want guys to take the lead in the relationship, said Cassie, yet often it's the guys who are pushing the boundaries. When that has happened to me, I felt very resentful. I know that it makes girls just feel used. We neither feel validated in who we are nor in what we stand for as women. I remember the time when a guy I really liked tried some things that made me uncomfortable. I asked him to stop, but he persisted. Finally, he just wore me down and I eventually gave in. He had weakened my defenses. Understand what's being said here. There's nothing manly about pushing past your girlfriend's sexual boundaries, especially when their pain or their desire for acceptance weakens their defenses. Besides, sex isn't so much a physical act as it is an emotional act for women, very different from the male perspective.
Yeah.
Becca, what is it called when a girl says no and he persists and then he wears her down and she gives in? Is there a word for that, Rebecca?
It's definitely not just wanting to be liked, like he says right after that.
Yeah.
Where she says their pain or their desire for acceptance weakens their defenses. No, he weakened her defenses. His persistence and his sexual assault.
Yeah, that is sexual. That is textbook definition of date rape.
Yeah, it is.
That is a textbook definition of date rape.
Yep.
And they don't even call it that.
No.
Pushing past someone's sexual boundaries.
When they repeatedly said no, too. In this case, it's finally he just wore me down. It's oh my goodness.
And this is why girls blame themselves for date rape. This is why girls don't recognize date rape. And that's one of the things we talked about in a podcast, I think back in September, was that girls who grew up in purity culture reading crap like this don't recognize date rape, because what are they being told? My defenses were weakened, and so finally I gave in. Giving in after you have consistently said no is not you giving in. It's you realizing your no means nothing. Mm-hmm. And so you stop saying no.
Yep.
And he just goes ahead. And that is date rape.
Yep.
That is sexual assault.
Yep.
And they don't even name it. They don't even name it. They are talking to, I'm sorry, I'm so angry right now, but they are talking to teenage boys. They are describing a date rape situation and they don't even name it. Shame on you.
Well, not only that.
Shame on you, Steve Arterburn and Fred Stoker. Seriously, do you know what is going to happen when you stand before Jesus?
Mm-hmm. Well, not only that, they're pretty much giving teenage boys the play-by-play on how to do it.
Yeah.
They say, look, when they have pain or their desire for acceptance weakens their defenses, it's kind of hey, here's who you can look out for, and here's how this guy did it. There is a level where it's this... it does feel very much like they're just kind of giving guys all the information on what to do.
Yep.
It's a problem.
Yep. So it's awful. And there's multiple examples of this in Every Young Man's Battle. I'm giving you one. There are so many. This is not a book that should ever be used. Of all the books I have ever read on sex, it was the worst. It was the one that put me in a funk. For women, I would say Lies Women Believe did that to me, but this really put me in a funk. Okay. We're going to listen to Fred Stoker, who's one of the co-authors of Every Young Man's Battle. Okay. In a clip, we've played this before, but we'll do it again. Awesome. In a clip with focus on the family. Okay? So here we go.
Our sexuality, our native language of passing intimacy with a girl is pretty sexual. Okay. So what happens is that when we're with a girl, the natural way we're going to want to express that is sexually. Okay, now we know we can't do that biblically, but we tend to want to express it that way. But the biggest problem is not how much we're pushing on the boundaries of our girlfriends. The biggest problem that creates in our lives is this, that we can look at a naked picture of a girl, it's just a picture, okay? But when we enter into self-gratification as we view that and we have this big burst of pleasure chemicals into the brain, that gives us this really medicated feeling. And even though that's not genuine intimacy because it's just a girl on a page, it has this sense of intimacy in us because of the way our sexuality is built. And
okay, so what he's saying is the biggest problem is not pushing on the boundaries of your girlfriend. Again, Becca, what is it called when you push on the boundaries of your girlfriend? Assault. The biggest problem that it creates in our lives is that we can look at a picture of a naked girl and we can consume that picture and get addicted to that sort of behavior.
Well, and not only that, they're talking about our natural way, right? They talk about this natural way of passing intimacy and that kind of is sexual. And it's what do you mean?
Yeah.
What do you mean? It's this is not normal for one, but they're using the kind of language that normalizes this behavior. If he said, when you're with a woman, you just want to bang her, And so you're going to do whatever it takes to bang her. Because that's just natural. It's natural for men to want to bang women and to push as hard as you can. And we're going to disrespect those boundaries. You're going to plow right through them. I'm just going to rape her if she doesn't want to do it, because that's just natural. That's how I experience intimacy. But that's not as bad as porn. Like, if he just said that, I think Focus on the Family would have kicked him off. But they don't, even though he's saying the same thing.
Yeah.
He's saying the same thing. He's just using euphemistic language. And that's what we're really trying to talk about today. It's like, this language gets you past people's defenses. And if you actually describe what they're saying, they wouldn't have gotten away with it. And so we need to stop being stupid, and we need to start actually looking at the message behind what they're saying. This man says, I want to rape lots of women.
That's how I experience love.
That's how I experience love. I want, because I'm like pushing on boundaries, going past what people want. I feel intimate when I rape women, but you know what? I'd rather do that than watch porn. Like, oh my God. Like, how did we get here?
And remember, this man is supposed to be an expert on how to get over porn.
And again, I think that some of the times, the way that we talk about things, we also desensitize ourselves to how we're talking about it. Like, I don't know how much Fred Stoker is aware of what he is saying here. I think there is a level of cultural conditioning and cultural scripts that everyone just kind of continues to go. I think from reading the Every Man's Battle thing, I think that even if it's not conscious, I would struggle if there wasn't a subconscious. But I do think that, like, I don't think that it's all social scripts, considering they built the social scripts. But I do think that there's a level where it helps us also realize when we're just parroting what we've heard in our environment to put it into real world terms. Real world terms. Sorry. It helps us to kind of catch ourselves and be like, wait, do I actually believe this, or am I just parroting it? Right? Like, we talked about this in the modesty message. You'll have a church where two men will say, I am concerned that Clara is so comfortable coming to church wearing that. And one of them means, does she have parents that care about her? Because, like, that's a red flag that a 12-year-old is trying to dress like a Kardashian or an Instagram model. And the other one means, I am distracted by Clara's boobs personally. And those are two different men, but they use the same words. And so use the actual words that you mean. Because it makes a big difference.
Okay, last one.
Okay.
We're going to listen to Josh Howerton. Okay. Here we go.
To fight. This is really interesting. The book of Ephesians says to you, men, that if the devil literally physically appears to you, it says what you need to do is stand firm against the fiery darts of the evil one. But then the same book says to flee sexual immorality. Do you know what that means? If you go out of one of our campuses, get to your car, and the literal physical devil, horns and tail and fang, standing right there, you need to stand up and bow up, and the Bible's going, hey, fight. But if you go out there and it's like some shady little girl in a miniskirt, run, Forrest, run! You are no match for this enemy.
So for those who don't know, Josh Howerton is a megachurch pastor in the Dallas area. He's with the SBC, and we've had lots of interactions back and forth. But this one in particular really made me mad, because what is he saying, Rebecca?
Oh, what isn't he saying?
Okay, so shady little girl in a miniskirt. So when you get out of church today and there's a shady little girl in a miniskirt,
run
in the church park. So you'll have an elder getting out of the church, and he's going to see a shady little girl in a miniskirt. Now, what is a shady little girl in a miniskirt?
Yeah, because does he mean a full-grown woman who's he's just being patronizing to? Yeah. Does he mean
And I have had some people from Texas say that's the way that people in Texas, the Texans talk about women, is they call them little girls.
Stop.
That's not okay, though.
Stop.
Because by doing that, you are saying that women are just children.
Well, no, even if you're not doing that, even if you're just being cutesy about it, it's icky, it's weird, and it's gross. And like if it's Texan culture, you can lose that one, friends.
Yeah.
You can.
You can.
You can lose that one, especially since the internet exists beyond Texas, actually. And so if you're calling a grown woman, you say, oh, I saw the prettiest little girl the other day, and you're a 35-year-old man, that is going to go badly on the internet.
Yes.
No, but seriously, like this, he could mean that it's just a woman who knows that she's dressing provocatively, and she's actively been trying to tempt this man.
Right.
And it is
in the church parking lot.
In the church parking lot. She's like, ooh, we're going to get Randy on the asphalt. Okay? Yes. Like there are plans that have been laid by this 35-year-old consenting woman.
Right. But that is not the words that were said.
But that's not what he said.
He said shady little girl. A little girl to me
teenager.
Means a teenager or even younger.
Yeah.
Like I'm thinking 12, 13.
Yeah.
That's
little
what
girl colloquially is not a 16-year-old.
No.
Young lady is a 16-year-old.
Yeah.
Little girl is...
Or a teen girl would be a 16-year-old. But little girl is young.
Yeah.
Like little girl's 11, 12. So you have a shady little girl. So first of all, can a 12 or 13-year-old be shady? Mm-hmm. I don't think so.
No.
I don't think a 12 or 13-year-old can be shady.
Nope. They can be struggling.
They can be,
they can be very visibly from a home that is clearly not looking out for them because of how they are presenting themselves in public. And I'm sorry, that is a thing that you can, that you can notice. Absolutely.
Yes. But then your reaction should be to help that little girl, not to accuse her of being shady. So he's saying he's a shady little girl in a miniskirt.
Yeah.
And that because she is in a miniskirt and because she is shady, this 12 or 13-year-old girl is more dangerous to this man than the literal devil.
Than Satan. Yeah.
Than Satan. So this 12-year-old girl is more dangerous. Now, here's where the euphemism stuff comes in. Mm-hmm. Okay. What danger does she pose? What is about to happen that is so dangerous?
Yep.
And I can think of 3 possibilities, okay, of the danger that she poses.
Yep.
Okay, one is that he may lust after her.
Yeah.
All right. So he may take a mental picture in his mind and play it over and over again.
In which case, did she do that to him or did he do that to her?
Yes, exactly. Who is being victimized here? The other one is that she could actually want to have sex with him and she could try to seduce him. Mm-hmm. However, if she is 12 or 13, it does not matter.
But not... regardless of what age she is, even if it wasn't a crime, even if we're back to the 35-year-old woman, okay? Back to the 35-year-old woman. Oh no, a woman wants to have sex with you. Say no.
Yeah, like why is that more dangerous than the literal devil?
How is that more dangerous than the devil? Like, are you that weak? Like, seriously, I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Like, Aragorn said no to Eowyn. That would have been great for our Friday roundups.
It would have been. Yes, in their Friday roundups, we always have an Aragorn reference. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are videos that we do on Friday. Beck and I.
Who could say no to Eowyn? If Aragorn can say no to Eowyn, I mean, gosh darn, no 35-year-old woman, and no, again, I'm just emphasizing we're not talking about a child here.
Yes.
Okay, like if Aragorn can say no to Eowyn, you can say no to the consenting woman in the church parking lot.
Yes, exactly. But the other option, and again, I'm still thinking she's 12 or 13.
I agree. He's talking about like a teenager.
Yeah. Is that he sexually assaults her when she doesn't want it.
Yes.
And remember that either way, whether she appears to consent or not, it is statutory rape.
Is rape. Yeah.
So
children are not your
What
playthings.
he's saying is that you need to flee because you will likely rape her. Right? He's saying that men in my church, you men in Lake Point Church, if there were a 12 or 13-year-old girl in a miniskirt in the parking lot, you should run away because the most likely scenario is that you're going to rape her.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying, people.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, if you're like, oh, but he didn't mean 12-year-old, then don't say little girl. Oh,
yeah.
But he's Texan. Stop being creepy and saying that it's because you're Texan. Like, I am so sorry.
Like, do you know what impression we're getting of Texas when all the Texans say that's just how we talk? It's like oh,
that's so icky.
Yeah. But like, and I've been to Texas. I one of my greatest experiences at a church was in Texas.
Yes.
But
nothing wrong with Texas. But there is something
seriously
wrong with a blanket statement calling females little girls because then, again, when do we know if someone is talking about a child or an adult?
Yeah.
And so you're listening to that and you might say, you're overreacting. Okay, but what about the man who is sexually attracted to the 14-year-old in the congregation? What about the man who is actively fighting temptation to try something with the 15-year-old that he's volunteering at her youth group with?
Yeah.
Like, what about those men who are now in the congregation who are hearing Pastor Josh say that and they're like, yes, exactly. This is how I feel. We need to use clear language so that it is clear what we are saying so that we don't accidentally become a place that enables predation.
Yeah.
We found that in churches where modesty messages are taught, the sexual assault rate is higher in those churches from people who are at the church. Okay? It grooms people, and it also attracts the kinds of people who would do those things because you have this external locus of control where it's like my sexual predation is because of what a girl chose to wear.
Yeah.
And that is what Josh is doing here. He's giving pedophiles an out. I do not believe that was his intention.
No.
But he has a responsibility as a pastor to be clear, especially around issues like sex, because so much of sex in this world is rape.
Yep. And I just want people to understand that he thinks he's making a joke. He thinks he's making this profound theological point in this little snippet here, and he's trying to make it funny. But what he's really saying to the men of Lake Point is 13-year-old girls are so dangerous that you would rape them if you didn't run away. And if that's honestly what Lake Point's like, well, it's good to know. At least he's admitting it.
Exactly. And quite frankly, if you are raising your kids in that environment, if you're someone who still goes to Lake Point, you know what doesn't sound fun to a lot of parents?
What?
Telling their kids about sex. I mean, I know it wasn't fun for you when I was growing up.
I did a terrible job.
You did a terrible job. And the good news for you all is that she did do a terrible job. And so that made us want to do a better job for the next generation. So together, we have created a course called The Whole Story, which is a course that walks you as the parents through having these talks with your kids, both boys and girls. And we've created 2 different versions for each gender, a young and an older version. So like the younger version is that really awkward age, you know, the one where you're in puberty in the middle of junior high.
Yeah, you're starting to get your period. You need a bra.
Or your boy's starting to have wet dreams. And then the older one we put in because often what happens is we have these conversations once and then we don't have them again. So we also created a program for you when your kids are more in high school where you can have the nitty-gritty conversations, get into those difficult topics and really connect so that's not just giving them a book and hoping that they understand, but you're having the ability to shepherd them in this stage of their life. The videos are recorded by me and my sister for the girls and by my husband Connor and a man named Daniel Barros, who is a Christian medical student for the boys.
And you can find the link to the whole story in the podcast notes below. You don't need to be scared. We're here to help.
What's so hard about this job is that you see so much, and so you stop understanding why people still go to those places. Because it's like, at this point, there's so much evidence. How much more evidence do you need?
Yeah.
Like before you're going to take your child out of that environment. Like how many more children need to be assaulted in those churches? How much more toxic teachings do you need to hear? Like at some point there's been so many studies that show that there are churches that aren't like this and then there are churches that are like this. And like I'm being vulnerable and honest here. Like I'm not trying to be antagonistic, but like it does come down to how many more kids need to be raped. Like the SBC is poison, and unless your pastor's one of the people who's actively trying to change the culture, like how much more abuse is necessary for you to see? Yep. And that's a question I think a lot of people need to sit with, where it's like, how far is too far? How many children is too many children? How many women is too many women? Because we have definitively shown, and it's not just us, it's so many researchers at this point, have definitively shown that it is toxic to talk about women in this way. It is toxic to talk about girls in this way. It is toxic to talk about sex in this way. And when you do, surprise, surprise, predators really like your church. Yeah. And do you really want to be raising your kids in an environment that is actively catering to predators?
And it's not just the predators like your church, it's that the boys in your church are more likely to become predators too,
including your sons, and that's a hard thing to talk about.
So it both attracts predators and grooms predators.
We found that when girls who were in churches that preached modesty messages were more likely to have experienced sexual assault from another child.
From a peer and from an adult.
And from an adult in their church than kids who grew up in church that didn't preach this. And so you need to be thinking about what messages your boys are being given. I know a lot of people listen to our podcast and they talk about how do I raise healthy boys? And then they also say the only church that's good in our area is the mega church that's SBC. And I'm like, then if your boys are in a church that is teaching them subliminally that what girls wear and what they do is partially responsible for whether or not he rapes her. I'm so sorry, but you are raising children with a higher likelihood of becoming predators. And that's the thing that none of us want to talk about. I have a boy myself. These are questions that I ask myself. I look at the studies and for both of my kids, I'm like, how can I raise resiliency and equality as a part of who you are? And these are the questions that we need to be asking as mothers and fathers. And that I feel are jumped over far too much. But this kind of language where it's not clear what people are saying, leads to messages that our children are getting that become foundational to their view of sex, to their view of gender, to their view of how they treat the opposite sex or how they expect to be treated by the opposite sex. And I would be very, very careful before you just brush it off as, well, I'm teaching them the good stuff so it won't stick. Yeah. Because you never know.
That's not what we found. It's simply not what we found.
You're going to have a lot of kids like me where nothing sticks to me. Like, I'm sorry. I am just who I am. And I was raised in all these circles and it didn't stick. But that's much more an area of personality, as much as you guys did a great job. Yeah. You did great. But it was much more personality based than anything else. And I just want parents to be very careful. And I know it's kind of a sobering note to end on, but I think it's one we don't talk about enough, which is you might think that the only good church in your area is the giant evangelical megachurch. But what's your metric of good? Because if your metric of good is it raises more predators, I just don't think that can. Let's change our metric anymore. Let's change our metric.
Yeah, there are good churches out there that don't preach this. And I just want to say too about this one clip, again, let's get back to what he's saying is that the girl in the miniskirt is the enemy. Yeah. Not the man who's going to rape her. Yeah. And I think that's a pretty bold statement that he's making with his full chest there.
And it explains our findings. Yeah. It does.
Yeah, it really does. Okay. So our plea is, well, first of all, obviously our plea is to pastors and authors to not use euphemisms, but that's not, that's not going to happen. So here's our second plea is that you, when you are reading books, when you are listening to pastors, think past the words they're saying and actually picture what they are saying. Ask yourself, what is it that they are actually telling me to do in what context? What is it that they are actually explaining? Yep. And picture it. And when you do that, it becomes much more clear where they're coming from and what they're saying. And then we're more readily able to reject stuff.
And I also want to make clear, this is something you should be doing not just in books that you think might be bad. This is something for good books. This is a protective literacy exercise for all books. There are lots of books. We talk about this all the time, the idea of blood thinners and blood clotters in research. We have advice in books that we have very clearly laid out. This is not for people in examples A, B, or C. Yeah. And so this is also a thing that you should do no matter what, because you should be asking, am I the intended audience? What is the advice that's actually being given here? How does this apply in certain contexts? Because that, first of all, it helps the authors that are trying to do this responsibly, where they are using proper words and they're trying to make it clear which group each advice is for. And it also helps you be protected against authors who are not doing this responsibly and who are giving weird, poetic semen imagery to everyone.
Yes. So thank you I hope you appreciated our generosity in pouring out our I can't. We can't do it. Thank you for joining us on the Bare Marriage Podcast.
There's been too much semen already in this one.
Do check out the new video study for The Marriage You Want that launched a few weeks ago. It is a wonderful book that talks about how you can get a healthy marriage, and we have it available as a small group curriculum now, as premarital curriculum, as couples study guides, as everything. It's everything that you could want in a marriage book for every purpose, and it's not going to point you to abuse. It's going to point you to health. So check it out. Link is in the podcast notes, and thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time on Bare Marriage. Bye-bye. Bye.